Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to the Fastest Podcast, a show where we talk about everything from the greatest overtakes to the fastest pit stops. I'm joined today by my guests. Firstly, the man who will simply go by Pigeon,
Hi, everyone.
and secondly, we're joined by the one and only Ash.
Hey everyone.
So we're a day out from Austria. Lando Norris picked up another victory this season ahead of teammate Oscar Piastri in a dominant McLaren performance. I suppose, firstly, gents, we talk about opinions. Pigeon?
Um, the first couple of laps were interesting. We saw McLaren battles, I think, continuing on from Canada. It was pretty interesting to see rules change now because last week we had Piastri in charge and Norris following. Now we had Norris in charge with Piastri putting under pressure. It was good to see. Sadly, they didn't last for long in the race. I would have loved to see them come back later in the race, but yeah, pretty good start. Bit of a mellow end, but can be expected.
Yeah. Ash?
Yeah, I thought it was overall kind of bittersweet race. Like we were expecting something to happen, but no overtakes, a few close calls, but not many overtakes if you ask me. There were some in the midfield, but mainly for the lead there were none. A few close calls maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, it was fireworks at the start with the
right.
two McLarens, and then there's little bits here and there, little battles here and there, but certain things that maybe cost us a bit of a grandstand finish. You did see Piastri close in, but maybe 5 more laps is what he needed, and he probably ran out of time on that.
I
Yeah,
think it
towards
could
the
have
end
been
it
the
came.
one lap actually, the one that we lost from the abort start.
Yeah, we could have had a
Yeah,
grandstand final lap actually.
If only it wasn't for science.
Oh,
yeah,
both
that
Williams as
was
well
a
had a
disaster.
tragic race. And
Yeah, that
speaking
was a
of
disaster.
tragic races, I think we have to touch on Red Bull. They had world champion Max out of the race on that one, and it was no Max, no points apparently.
We've seen it before. Second Red Bull car is nowhere to be found these days. Of course, Max qualified not optimal. P7. We've seen him come back from worse, but then of course being taken out in the third corner kind of puts a damper on the whole party. I think he could have been podium at most, probably P4. But yeah, Tsunoda was the only one after that one, so he didn't do much aside from bully Colapinto a little bit, pick up a penalty. Yeah, nothing much to say about it, honestly.
Yeah, it was. It's tough. You every weekend people go in and they look at Sonoda and they think it's gonna be his weekend now. He's building himself up. He has a good drive, finishes maybe P11 from a P20, and then comes into this weekend P18 out in Q1. And yeah, like you said, Max maybe could have got P3, but the McLarens were so dominant. It was damage limitation, and unfortunately, the damage wasn't limited.
Every weekend we get into, I'm just hoping to see Sunan at least in the top 10 in qualifying and the race. Like every week, we are hoping that Sunan just tries to catch on every single weekend. Like, yeah, I'm not exactly a Red Bull fan but I want to see Sunoda build up the confidence in the car, at least get that car in the top tens where he can help Max win the championship or at least Red Bull win the championship in the future. Somewhere like that, so he can keep his seat safe for next year as well. So that's also something that's kind of putting pressure on Sonoda right now. It's not just this year's performance; it's how it's going to affect next year's seats as well. And coming to Verstappen, yeah, this is an unfortunate accident. It happens, and he himself admitted he's not like these things happen because again, Antonelli is a new driver, rookie, and yes, it was a minor mistake he made, and yeah, both the drivers were out.
I mean, I think if you compare Lawson to Tsunoda, when Lawson was picked up at the start of the season, Lawson was like, "I'm going to do my best. I'll do what I can and try to stay close to Max." Tsunoda was very different in that aspect. He was like, "I'm going to try and beat Max. I'm going to be close." So I mean, it's a sad thing to see him so far back. But I think he also was pretty cocky at the start of the season, where he was like, "I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna put really the pressure on it," and he just does not perform in that car. So
See, I wouldn't say he was too cocky. See, he's been driving in Formula One for 4 years right now, right? With Alpha Tauri and then V Carb and then now Racing Bulls. Same name but different acronyms, but okay. Anyway, but yeah, he's built that confidence in that Racing Bull, saying that, you know what, I'm a decent driver, going up against Pierre Gasly as a teammate, and then Daniel Ricciardo, Lawson, and even Hadjar. And then he's also beaten other teams who have done well as well, right? So he had that confidence in himself that he can do it. He just underestimated the challenges that the RB21 will bring to him. He didn't
Yeah, he was
expect that.
constantly overlooked, wasn't he, for that second seat over Lawson, got it ahead of him. Perez, maybe he should have been put in instead of Perez at times. He was overlooked so many times. It wasn't necessarily cockiness. He was just confident he could do well, and maybe, like you said, he didn't realise how tricky that Red Bull car is to actually handle.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, so I think Sunoda, if he's given more time, he might come back. He might not. Can't predict it right now. But next year, we all know the car is drastically going to change. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
that's what
never
I was
know
about
how
to
it's going
say.
to.
We just have to hope that that RB22 is going to be manageable at best, and maybe we'll even see Verstappen drop back a little bit. Well, we don't know, but
We
yeah,
also don't
I
know who's
hope.
going to. We also don't know who's going to be on the second seat in Red Bull next year.
I mean, if you
That's
don't
one more
put
question
in, I
mark.
mean, you can't put anyone in. That's been proven. And at this point, who are you going to put in? It's
I
really
will put
impossible.
someone. See, I will put someone experienced. I need someone who can give me proper feedback on the car. If I'm Red Bull, I need someone who can give me proper feedback on the car to improve. Because Verstappen, the feedback that he gives is, yes, it's important, but it doesn't. It's not beneficial when you're thinking about the entire team, because it's not just Verstappen who has to drive the car. It's even who was driving next to him, Sunoda, Lawson, or anyone else, Perez, who was. So
Oh, we can't hear you, Ash.
we have slightly lost Ash momentarily.
I don't think there are many drivers on the grid who could have that much experience. I think we have only three at the moment. We have Hamilton,
Yeah.
Alonso, and Hulkenberg.
Well, you're looking at the ones that we've lost. We've lost Hulkenberg, Bottas recently, Ricardo recently,
Magnussen, Perez.
Magnussen, Perez, and I think Perez's downfall came because there's so much pressure on him towards the end of last season when he's got Lawson breathing down his neck and Tsunoda breathing down his neck for that seat, and he's not performing. And the pressure builds. Potentially, that's why his performances weren't there. And then now Tsunoda is probably having that same kind of in the back of his mind thought that if I don't perform, am I going to go the same way as Perez and lose my seat as well?
I think for Perez, it wasn't totally the performances. I think it was the crashes. He crashed the car so many times, and that
Yeah,
really adds up over a season. And then failing in qualify, it was either he fails in qualifying or he crashes, or both. And when he was there, he really just couldn't keep up.
see,
So
I
yeah,
still think
yeah,
Perez. I hope I'm audible now.
yeah, you are. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
We got you back.
Yeah, I still think that Perez is a good driver. Yes,
he is. Yeah,
he crashed
Yeah,
with the Red Bull number of times last year and everything, but I still think he has that capability to become that driver that kind of improves the entire team, not just improves on his performance alone, but improves the entire team. We saw him do that with Force India, and then which became Racing Point, and yeah, Red Bull also, if you ask me. Like 2022 Red Bull, 23 it
yeah.
was Perez and Verstappen, and both of them were getting podiums. It was not just Verstappen getting podiums while Perez is in the backfield. He was also up there. It was only like so in the recent interview he gave, which came out last week. He mentioned that it was since Newey left, the car development has taken a downfall. So I
Yeah.
think yeah, he that actually happened. That's what I feel. And Red Bull just didn't understand the real problem yet. They were
I
just
think the
thinking it's the
problem is as
driver.
well. You're comparing, or the only comparison Red Bull had was Perez to
Right.
Verstappen in a car that is so tailored towards him. And we all know how good Max is. He's 4-time world champion for a reason. So when you're comparing Perez to that, he's going to look slightly worse on paper. But if you could put him into that racing point, we saw what he done with it. Constant points finishes. He was so consistent. He was against Lance Stroll in that situation. So make of that what you will. but he was just a very good driver at that point.
I mean,
I'll-
we pick on Stroll all the time, but he
I-
has shown
I have
some
no
flashes
comments here,
of great
man.
pace.
I have
We
no
have
comments
shown
here.
some. No, but we have seen some great moments from Stroll, getting podiums, getting a pole in Turkey. In the rain, when he doesn't crash, he really has some good pace.
I have no comments
Yeah.
regarding Stroll. So far, I think it's safe if I stay silent.
Yeah, but to get back to the Red Bull second seat, even
Yes.
before Perez arrived at Red Bull, we saw Albon, Gasly. They were nowhere close to him. And I really think that when Ricciardo left that team, he must have put some kind of curse on that seat that can only be resolved by doing a shoey in Australia, on the podium. Because
Just getting Daniel Ricciardo back in the car.
yeah, I mean that must be the only thing that can break that curse. Because otherwise, I just don't know what Red Bull will do. Because as we saw this weekend, if Max doesn't score, if he's out, Red Bull is P10 in the championship.
I think we're also forgetting the possibility of Verstappen not being in that first Red Bull seat next season as well.
Okay, I have a quick building on that. I have a quick question for the both of you. Who do you think is going to drive for Red Bull next year? Both the cars.
At this point, I can't say. I mean, if Red Bull continue to go down this path, showing no signs of real pace towards the McLaren, Max might just say, "Hey, I'm out." And if Tsunoda doesn't improve by the end of the season, I really don't know what they'll do. But they won't put Hadjar in. I know that.
Give me a name.
Does Lawson go back in the car?
Christian, give me a name going with who's going to drive next year.
Uh, really put me on the spot here.
Take a wild guess.
If they're both gonna go, which I think is a possibility, Hadjar, and they'll give one of the older drivers maybe a crack at it.
Kieran, any thoughts?
Maybe Hulkenberg.
I'm going to say Max and Tsunoda. I think they're going to keep the same lineup. I think the only possibility is if Max, like Pigeon said, goes down the same road, Red Bull have no pace and potentially decline into 2026. I think Max might say, "Yeah, I'm out." But I think at this point, I think we're going to see the same lineup.
Okay, I'm going to go a little out of the box and say Max and Bottas.
Not too crazy, but
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not out
They
of
need
the
an
realms.
experienced driver. They can't go back to Perez because it'll look bad for them. So next option is Bottas.
Ricardo.
Yeah, get the Aussie back in.
I think Ricardo's a retired man.
I mean, I think it's just a fan in me, but I really want to see Max and Daniel, even if it's just for one race, just
I
have
get
them
that.
side by side in the same car.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the two experienced drivers in Max and Ricardo, we had two rookies on the grid as well who had brilliant performances. It was Lawson P6 in the Racing Bull, who also outqualified both Red Bulls in the qualifying, and Bortoletto P8 for his first points in F1.
I mean, is Lawson still considered to be a rookie?
Well,
It's his first full season.
First
You
full
could say
season,
he's still a rookie.
okay, fine.
yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think Bortoletto and Lawson, both of them, they did really well, especially Bortoletto, if you ask me. Because this entire season, we all expected Sauber to be last this entire season. And since Barcelona, they brought an upgrade, and the team, the Hulkenberg has been able to get the points in Spain and Canada. And now we have Bortoletto also in the mix. So it's kind of exciting to see
Yeah.
that kind of competition coming. And we could even see more once Audi takes over next year.
I mean, once again, you see how important qualifying is. Lawson qualified P6, finished P6. Bortoletto qualified P8, finished P8. DRS was about as useful as a slipstream, I'd say. We didn't see many overtakes. You saw Piastri, who couldn't get past Norris, even though he was very close.
But you think how hot it is as well, adding dirty air out of corners, just so difficult for drivers to
Yeah.
get any sort of a run.
Yeah, but I mean, both of those drivers, amazing performances. They really, especially the defensive driving they had to do. If you look back at the interviews they gave, they were really surprised that they weren't overtaken by anyone. And on top of that, also Hockenberg from P20 to P9 also really has to be a problem.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And what he is doing in that car is just amazing. Yeah, upgrades, but still P20 to P9, it's not easy.
No, like
Yeah,
you said, in the track where it's difficult to overtake,
I
or
mean,
we saw it was difficult to overtake, and he's still done it.
yeah,
yeah. I think what sealed the deal for them was the one-stop strategy. Most
Yeah,
of the drivers did a two-stop, and then you have track position, you get into the DRS straight, and you lose out massively. And both of them did a one-stop, and then they just kind of held position, managed the tires, and yeah, that's basically points for you. So
but during those final
yeah,
laps, I was on the edge of my seat, like hoping that Bortoleto overtakes Alonso. That
I
battle
mean,
was
it would have
actually really
been
entertaining. I think if
it would
Norris hadn't come around to overlap them, I think Bortoleto would have been able to take Alonso.
I think
That was
Alonso was playing with him, to be honest. If you
giving him a
see
bit of
the moves he was doing, he was literally just giving him basically just a lesson in this is how
yeah,
you overtake, you know.
just
like
give him a lesson in
just
racecraft,
teaching him on track.
Yeah,
giving him a
I
lesson
mean,
on
I love
racetrack.
those two. They really you see the love between them,
Yeah,
and the bond they have, and seeing both of them on track, and especially racing against one another, it just brings me joy to no amount. You know, it's amazing.
yeah, it is. It's nice to see you've got an experienced driver and a young driver who are very close. You don't always get that, and yeah, it's definitely going to be good for Bortoleto as well as you see Lawson as well. This result's brilliant for him. He came back to Racing Bulls after being demoted from Red Bull, and he's actually not put a foot wrong really. Whereas most drivers would crumble off it, and he's not, and you have to applaud him.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks back, I think we really were wondering whether he'd be scoring any points, and now it's I think three back-to-back point scoring races, and better each time. So you really
Yeah,
have to see the talent that Lawson is showing again in that V carb, because I think I said it before, but that V carb is a pretty stable car. You can really push it, and it's pretty stable. Whereas the Red Bull, if you go 1 centimeter too wide, you're in the gravel.
yeah, it's a much more balanced car. Whereas
Yeah,
Red Bull, as everyone said
I
before,
think
is
I
front end
think we have a
heavy.
couple on the grid that are pretty balanced, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's good to be in that car, especially if you're learning.
yeah, definitely. And now we can go off balance. And I noticed Simon Pigeon has opinions on, so we'll let him go first. The Ferrari strategy once again is being called upon.
I mean, they qualified well, P2 and P4. It's nice to see that they are both at the front. And then you hear halfway through the race Hamilton just on the radio, I don't want to box, my tires are great. And we saw it in Canada as well with Leclerc. Uh, if Ferrari wants to pit, they really want to pit for some reason, even if the drivers are saying that they don't want to pit. Yeah, it's weird. It brings drama on the radio, but yeah, I don't know
I mean,
what to think of it, to be honest.
I don't think it was an issue this race because the strategy kind of worked out, and they couldn't have done better than third and fourth. That was a given. So I think it kind of worked out, and they were able to keep Russell also within a good distance behind them, and they kind of didn't let the Ferraris go too far ahead as well, because we have in the past we've seen like Ferrari fall like within 30 seconds behind uh, the McLarens. This time it was I think 16 seconds. Leclerc was 16 seconds behind Piastri, and Hamilton was another I think 4 or 5 seconds. I'm not
I
sure
think
about
it
the
was
exact.
more. I think it was like 20 seconds between the Ferraris in the end.
Yeah, the gap did build.
Yeah, and
It was,
it's been a trend this season where Hamilton is just in a pocket in a race, just having no one in front, no one behind, and he just kind of has his own thing going.
Yeah,
well,
that's
that was
been
him on the
happening,
radio
but
at Canada, wasn't it?
yeah, that's been happening, but I think they have made a lot of progress because they're right now second in the championship and they can't catch McLaren. That's a given. All they need to do is just maintain second right now and just stay there. So I think that in look in that perspective, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Yeah, Verstappen was there
Yeah,
in the race. We could have seen some battles between maybe Verstappen and the Ferraris, and maybe even Verstappen and McLarens. Who knows? But yeah, I think Ferrari doing what they're what they can do right now and just start. Maybe they can compete for the championship next year.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
Ferrari has it pretty easy this year, considering that they only have to battle Mercedes and Verstappen, honestly.
and their own strategists.
Yeah, I mean, they're no longer putting Inters on a dry track, so that's a plus.
You're right. It is a
Yeah,
bit easy for Ferrari this year, mainly because they have two really good drivers with Leclerc and Hamilton. Red Bull, they have Verstappen, second driver is nowhere to be seen for now. And Mercedes, yeah, they have Russell. Anthony is also strong, but he's not there yet. They're still learning out for him and learning curve for him. He still has to develop a bit more, like we saw the rookie mistake in this race itself. So yeah, I think Ferrari does have an advantage in terms compared to these two teams. But if they want to challenge McLaren, they need to build the car a bit more, and they can do that only next year. If you ask me, maybe they can towards the end of the season if they bring a few more upgrades, might be able to challenge them for a few wins towards the end. But championship is out of the question for this year.
I don't think they will bring any more upgrades. They did a floor upgrade. It worked pretty nicely. I don't think they have any more to give in that aspect. If you can already now outperform the Mercedeses on a regular basis, then there's no more to gain. Honestly, you can't gain on
yeah.
McLaren anyway in any reasonable way anyway. So
I
yeah,
think especially with 2026, the new regulations, that if they are the second best team and can't win the championship, all their focus will just shift to 2026 rather than trying to build on 2025 when they've at this point got nothing to play for. They will be second. I think people are probably accepting that. They're accepting that. Mercedes and Red Bull are probably accepting it as well. So they'll shift their focus on now. We probably won't see many more upgrades from McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull going forwards.
See, if you
yeah.
ask me, the entire grid should start working on 2026 car right now itself, because the championship is kind of decided right now. The only thing that's left is drivers'
Yeah,
championship, which is between Piastri and Norris. The only people who really need to work on upgrades for this season is maybe Red Bull, not for the constructor championship, but maybe to try get Verstappen in the mix for drivers. But
I
yeah,
think at this point you'd need at least two DNFs from both drivers.
I mean, speaking of which, 100% possible right now if you ask me, because this race we saw two Mercedes DNFs, Mercedes power unit DNFs. First there was
Three
Sainz,
even.
and then we saw Albon. Who was the third?
I mean Antonelli, but you know.
I mean, okay,
well,
actually, that's not
yeah.
engine related, but so I'm just talking about power
I mean,
units. So
I think
through
you
this
could say
race,
that Science was a brake failure.
yeah, initially it was brake failure, and then it turned into an engine issue also, right? When he came back in the pit lane.
When I was looking at the board at the start, it immediately reminded me of Australia 2024 with Verstappen when he started the race, and then his brakes basically locked and he had exploding brake discs.
Yeah,
I think this was the same
Yeah.
issue.
I think the fire came from the back, right, not from the front.
No, I think it came out of the tires, out of the rear tires. So
Yeah, so his
Okay, maybe I should look at that again.
retirement was brake related in the pit lane,
Okay.
but when he went off on the grid, it was engine because
Yeah.
I think his engine just stalled and stuck in gear one. So yeah, it would have been all gearbox related or something like that,
So
something to do with the power
so
unit
that's
somewhere.
two Mercedes engine
and
failures this race, and we've had I think five in the last
five
four
at least.
races.
Yeah, Antonelli in
So
Spain.
seven in the last five races. Seven Mercedes engine failures in the last five races. So a Mercedes DNF is I'm not ruling that out at all. A McLaren DNF, I'm not ruling that out at all right now.
Well, also if the McLarens battle too hard towards the end of the season, they could both be crashing into each other and out of the race.
Yeah, I mean they
I
came
mean,
really close this race itself.
Yeah,
at this point, I'd say let them race. There's no constructors championship on the line for them. So even if they don't score as a team, it doesn't matter. They're
Yeah,
both. I think they're like what 200 points ahead of Ferrari at this point. If you've DNF four times, it really does not matter.
yeah, definitely let them race
yeah.
Just,
this.
just, just let them race. Let them fight.
Yeah, no
It's the
doubt,
only way to learn.
no doubt. We need more.
They'll
We
they'll
need
make a
entertainment.
call if it's they'll make a call if it's too much at some point. But at the moment, and they did say to Piastri, the racing's your call. And I think as a neutral point of view, and even a McLaren point of view, you're probably happy with them racing. They're so far ahead, especially now with Red Bull no points at Austria. They just build their gap even more. They've got so much of a leeway they can race.
Yeah, Canada obviously Norris hit Piastri, and this race we saw Oscar almost hit Norris. Like he locked up in that going to turn four. I actually thought they crashed, but luckily they didn't. Because if they crashed, then I think both the cars would have been out in that one incident itself. But yeah, so
Yeah,
we should see them race, but I think they should be a bit more careful, maybe keep a bit more distance between each other sometime.
I mean, I don't think there's really any correlation in those two. You're either racing hard or you're fighting safe.
Yeah, see, the
You can't
constructor
race
champion is
safe.
locked in. That we know.
papaya rules.
See, we know the constructor championship is locked in. That's given. But I still think the driver champion is still open for Verstappen. I feel with the
The
Mercedes.
doors on the latch.
Yeah, with the Mercedes power unit looming over, and then if they crash, also it opens the door for Verstappen.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean,
Never-
we're nearing halfway season, so
Yeah, is it one more and then a summer break? So see what goes on.
yeah.
But there are two more teammates on the grid who also need to be careful while they're racing, and one of them is Sonny Hayes. The F1 movie has just been released,
I know.
and I think we've all seen it, haven't we?
I know. Me and Pigeon seen it. I don't know, Kiran, have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it. Haven't watched the full thing yet.
So you're not seen the full movie yet.
No. But I know what happens in it. I've seen the spoilers. Unfortunately, you can't stay away from them too much.
It's so sad these days. You really can't just not watch a movie for a week and know nothing about the movie.
Yeah, the 2 days after it was released, I felt like I'd just watched the whole thing without watching it.
I watched the movie two times.
There
man.
goes that for me.
I watched the movie two times already.
Me too. I watched it once by myself and then another time with Abby check. So,
You guys have your opinions on my behalf.
So
I'm fine with that.
So I actually saw the movie first time in IMAX, and the second time I watched it with my friends on a normal screen. So I obviously like the IMAX experience better, obviously. But yeah, opinions on the movie. Pigeon, you go first. I'll save mine.
I mean, I actually think it might be interesting if you do it in three different categories. One, the plot. Two, technical aspect. And then three, penalties and whatever, I think the plot, if you just look at it as a movie, it's an amazing movie, The racing scenes, amazing. Story is, underdog team going all the way to the top.
Predictable.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it was a really good movie. And then if you look at the racing and how they did it, and the footage that they managed to gather, I think it was done really well because they dubbed over cars from official footage, and it just looks nice.
See, I think there's like 2 point of views for me. One is the F1 fan in me, and the other one is a movie fan. As a movie fan, I loved it. I had nothing to complain about as a movie fan. The movie was amazing. The story was kind of obvious, but still, it was amazing to see how they actually did it and things like that. And the racing sequences were obviously amazing, especially the final sequence. Okay, wait, we forgot to give spoiler alert, guys.
I mean, we haven't spoiled anything yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to spoil things now, okay? So spoiler alert right now.
So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, just click off now.
Right, so the final racing sequence in Abu Dhabi, I found that extremely entertaining. And they obviously took inspiration from the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where Verstappen was out in
I
first.
actually think they got it right.
Yeah. These guys fixed the mistakes.
If you think back to 2021, I mean, there was no reason to throw a red flag in there to fix a steel barrier. But if you look back to 2021, there was a really good reason to throw a red flag for Latifi being into the wall on the middle of the track.
Yeah, so I think...
Felt like a subtle dig to show the FIA what to do next time.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
I don't hope there is a next time, to be honest.
Hamilton did produce the movie, so it must have been his idea. So we never know.
It was actually a shock that he was so bad at racing. Pierce, I was looking at the racing between them, and it really looked like Hamilton just closed the door on him and just tried to put him in a wall.
I mean, it's movies, man. We need that. We
Yeah,
need the
still.
drama.
You can tell he's a world champion when he's closing the door on that actor who isn't actually a driver.
I mean,
Is that he's that desperate for his
but yeah,
win?
getting back. So I think as a movie fan, I loved it. As a racing fan, I saw a lot of issues with it. See, obviously they
Yeah.
adjusted a lot of things,
Yeah,
like including the rules and penalties and everything to kind of give the movie a dramatic feel, and maybe even American, like make it more American. We did see that happen. So, and there was one
it's definitely tailored to a certain set of fans, isn't it?
exactly as a,
I mean, you have to
it's
at this point.
it's not for
Yeah,
hardcore F1 fans like us. Like we've been following
it's like a
F1.
Drive to Survive, the route that's gone down.
Not exactly, but yeah, it is dramatized and like they kind of. But the racing sequences were shot nicely. We saw the shooting. We've seen footage of shooting happen during the races, and we've seen the actors also be part of the driver national anthems, and we've seen all the footages from that also in 2023. So yeah, the racing sequence, everything was good. The way the movie was shot and everything was good. So issues with the movie starting with the first half. Uh, the first half. Okay, Pigeon, you go first. I already know what you're going to say.
I mean, I don't know where you want me to start. You know, it's you have a really cocky rookie and a really veteran driver, and for some reason the rookie just thinks like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on the radio, tell him to let me pass," and you know, I'll go past, and that never happens in F1. I don't know why you would think it would work in the movie as well. But yeah, you crash into your teammates. That's a big no-no. Drama in the garage, of course. And then the second race, you cause 3 separate safety cars, which I think would result in at least 6 penalty points in this era, or a black flag.
Yeah, probably Black Flag more likely.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was like
yeah, really, really
that was like one of my biggest issues.
dirty technical
That was like one of
moves.
my biggest issues of the movie. They literally took the crash gate incident, and they kind of like brought it into the movie. Like I didn't like intentionally creating virtual safety cars and safety cars to kind of help your teammate. So that part I didn't like at all. And then we also saw so in the next race also same thing happened. We saw Hayes holding everyone back and not exactly acknowledging the blue flags and letting the cars go through. So
I mean, I think the holding people back, that's just strategy at this point. We saw it with
yeah,
Alonso in Monaco every single year.
normal racing conditions I
And
100% agree, but blue flag conditions like
yeah,
holding like that scene one there was one scene where Verstappen was overlapping Hayes, and Hayes was like not letting him through, waiting for
I mean, I don't even
this one
think
to
it
go
was
close
it
in.
was. I don't think it even was ignoring blue flag. It was literally deliberately waiting in the
Exactly,
pit lane to come out just ahead of him and then try to hold Max Verstappen, a 4-time world champion, behind you in a shitbox.
exactly. See, I'm not saying it's not possible to do all that, but if you do it, you're going to get heavily penalized. You're probably going to get a race ban,
Yeah, blue
black
flags.
flag,
That's
and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably where the line is between like I said, the racing fan and the movie fan, and
Oh,
then
I
I
haven't
tail
even
it
got to the
onto
racing yet.
the movie fan. Oh,
I mean that the Monza race particularly. It's Monza. Okay, it starts raining. When's the last time we've seen rain in Monza?
I mean it's
Not much.
possible, but yeah, it's rare.
about 4 days ago in the F1 movie, I'd say.
Now, okay, and then afterwards we have Verstappen and Pierce staring out on slick tires in a clearly very, very, very wet track with no spray whatsoever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was no
that's
spray
interesting.
also.
And then you try to put a move on Max Verstappen in the Parabolica on slick tires. That's just a death wish,
I mean, you
which
wouldn't
it
even be able to
was.
catch up with Max Verstappen on dry tyres in a wet track.
Yeah.
And also Hayes wasn't fast enough on the intermediates. How was Hayes falling back to a start on intermediate tires on a
I
wet
mean,
track?
there was an entire pit stop between them, so
Yeah, but like like for if it's raining, I want to be out on intermediates. I'll be faster. Like Verstappen was on slick tires and still
Yeah.
slower than intermediates. I mean, still faster than the intermediates. So that was kind
I
of
mean,
inaccurate over there. But the crash,
given that Monza is also just a straight line for most of it, it would help.
yeah, but the crash that happened in Monza, that was actually quite realistic if you ask me. Uh,
Yeah, I looked back at the F3 crash a
exactly,
couple of years back.
exactly.
It didn't go quite as far, but yeah, far enough.
That was the F3 car. So F1 cars will go faster, maybe not as fast in the rain, but yeah, we can actually see that happen in the fireball. As a movie fan, people might not really believe that someone can survive that fireball, but we know people can survive from experience.
Yeah,
We
there
have,
is a phoenix that has risen before.
yeah, we have seen that happen with Grosjean in 2020, so we know it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, of course, we have the I want to set up the car for combat scene, where they design a completely new front wing to deal with dirty air. I mean, would be fun if it was possible. I think everyone would apply that logic.
I mean, it's not supposed to be possible. That's why
Yeah.
it's a movie, man.
if
Yeah.
only it was that simple. The racing in F1 now would be brilliant.
Exactly.
But I think it really is a great movie if you talk about the mentality of a team. Hayes gets into the team. He starts to give really accurate feedback of how that car is supposed to be driven, developed, whatever. He starts to dominate the team meetings, really be present in them. And then you see them throughout the rest of the season. They improve, they get to the points. They have a shot at the podium in Monza where they benefit from bad conditions.
Okay. I have a very
It was pretty
I
good
have a
to
very
see.
strong opinion on that actually. As a movie fan, loved it again. But as an F1 fan, I hated that. So last few years, we keep hearing this debate about which motorsport is better, F1, IndyCar, NASCAR, and things like that, right? And we have like Americans saying that oh, any of the NASCAR drivers or IndyCar drivers can come to F1 and just drive as good or even better. And this movie kind of supported that logic. Now so we have Sonny Hayes, American driver. All he's done is driven
60.
60, 50, whatever. And then he just comes to F1 with not having driven in F1 for 30 years. He just gets a small intro to the steering wheel, just sees the track, this thing has a small conversation with the engineers and things like that. And he gets into the F1 car and goes with him 1 second of his teammate. That's not exactly how F1 works. That's not how simple it is to drive in F1. If it was that simple, then any driver would come to F1 because it pays better than any other motorsport, if you ask me.
Yeah,
True.
But it's not that simple. F1 is 20 of the best drivers in the world, and it's extremely difficult because, see, I'm not saying F1 is better than NASCAR or IndyCar. I'm just saying they're all completely different.
They're different
Exactly.
sports.
They're all completely different. Like F1, the downforce that's involved is so much more higher. So the training is also completely different to NASCAR and IndyCar. So you can't compare these sports. So you can't put an IndyCar driver in F1 and expect them to do as well, and you can't even put a F1 driver in NASCAR and ask them to go as fast.
yeah. Because also Sonny Hayes coming in, an unexpected plan to put him into that seat in the movie, and then he's probably no training recently, and as you said, he's gone straight into that car,
Right.
and he seems to be flying it around the track like it's
Exactly.
nothing.
He just got off bed. He on his trailer. He just does a couple of pull-ups, push-ups, does his exercise on the side of the bed, and just gets into an F1 car. That's not how it works.
Yeah, if it's that's how it worked, I'd be driving an F1 right now.
Exactly. But as a movie fan, we liked it because it kind of felt like relatable. Like this is all something even we can do, so we can also
Yeah.
work to become an F1 driver, things like that. Kind of builds that inspiration and things
I
like
mean,
that. But no, as an F1 fan, no.
yeah,
Yeah.
you saw enough of it to make it believable.
Yeah.
So the question is ratings out of 10 for the F1 movie.
Pigeon, you go first.
Pigeon.
Plot 8, racing a solid 8, and technical side, I say 6. They really tried to include most of the rules, the regulations, but they just came short, in my opinion.
As a movie,
Yeah.
I would give it 9. As an F1 movie, I would give it about 7 maybe. Yeah. So actually, I was having
Yeah.
a conversation with my friend after seeing the movie yesterday. So he was telling me how like Ford versus Ferrari was much better than this one. So my argument with that was kind of like Ford versus Ferrari is a completely different film, and it's like that one was more that's a true story. It's not like
Yeah.
it's an actual true story. It's fictional. That's one of the key differences between the two, and so that had to be a bit more accurate than this one on the technical sides as well.
Yeah.
Wait, Sonny Hayes didn't win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2023?
I think we'll have to go back and check, see what's happened. I can take that one.
Yeah. I will. I'll reserve my judgment until I've watched the film in full, and I'll maybe on the next podcast I'll discuss.
I mean, you already kind of
what my
gave
ratings.
I think you already gave kind of your feedback this time itself, but sure.
Yeah, on certain elements of it. I think there's certain bits I've missed out in between here, so I need to go back and watch it in full, and then I can give my opinions properly on that.
See, I think everyone should watch the
don't-
movie. It's not like just because the F1 side, just because on the F1 side, you shouldn't watch the movie. At least just watch it once, and then you can have your own opinions and things like that. It's worth the watch. That's confirmed.
I mean, it's a great watch. And even circling back to that final, post red flag, that racing action, I would love it if they were able to do that
In real life?
real life. Being that close, just towing and attacking with multiple cars. I would love to see that in F1 next year, maybe, but I don't think
Okay,
we'll
I
be
will-
able to.
2026 new regulations. They know what we want.
I have a question. Which team do you see becoming the next Apex GP?
Cadillac.
Cadillac?
Yeah, gotta be Cadillac. New team on the grid,
I think-
underdog.
I think so.
I think at this point you can't call Williams an underdog team anymore because they're P5 in the
Yeah,
championship.
they've already completed their Apex GP
yeah, maybe-
era.
Maybe
Yeah,
Sauber.
I was just going to
They're
say, I was going to say
really-
Sauber because this year we
Yeah.
saw them bring an upgrade. Maybe we can call that the combat upgrade for them. And they kind of like started improving in Spain. And maybe
Yeah, and keep that same driver line up as well, and they could be in a very
we
good
could even
spot.
Yeah.
see them use Plan C in the coming races.
I mean, at some point, I think Bortoletto and Hulkenberg were P5 and P6.
Yeah, they were looking like they were going to get a better result than they did, but even the result they got, like we said, is incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So keep that same lineup and progress further this season and into next season. They could be looking
Audi.
like a kind of upper mid-table, maybe.
Yeah, if they drive like regular Audi drivers, they should be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, forgot their Audi next season as well. Gosh. Someone else.
Your average Audi
Another
driver.
story.
Yeah, I think Aston Martin could also be in that pack of trying to go back up if they replace one vital part of the car.
See, if Aston Martin want to go back up, yeah, they have a huge chance with Newey joining the technical team. I will say that, but I think they need two good drivers, and I don't think both the drivers are there right now because Alonso's.
It's
See,
a bit harsh on Alonso.
yeah, I am being a bit harsh on Alonso, but see, come on, end of the day, he is old, and we don't know if
He's a rookie.
fine. If Sonny Hayes is rookie, then he's a rookie as well.
It's his
I mean-
19th full season.
I mean, he's driving like a rookie at this point. He still has the fire in him. You can see it.
But let's talk about
Yeah.
consistency. How long is Alonso going to drive? I know you guys will say for another 10, 15 years, but realistically, maybe a year or two.
Nah,
It's
If
probably
we're realistic.
one or two more. Next year will depend. If Aston's good car next season, he'll go one more. If it's not very good, he'll call it
think-
a
Right.
day.
So after that, they
think
need
it
some.
depends
They need
on
a
how
driver that's
easy
going to
the-
stay with the team and continue to perform. And I don't think Lance Stroll is that driver right now because we have seen a kind of downward arc. Because in the beginning, the initial years, he was really good actually. Like we saw him get a podium with Williams as well in Azerbaijan 2017, I think. Yeah. But going as his career kind of progress, he's not really been improving that much because all his teammates have beaten him by now.
Yeah,
The only time he was able to beat his teammate was Sergei Sirotkin with Williams. I think 2018.
but there is no guarantee he's in the car next season at this point either. So
I think he'll be in the car.
the driver market's still.
See, but I'm saying-
yeah, I mean, for
I think he will be,
Alonso-
but while there's no guarantee, let's hope.
Yeah, but I think Aston need.
I mean, for Alonso, I think it's dependent on how easy the car is to drive
Yeah,
next year. If it gets tougher to drive, I think Alonso will be one of the ones that notices that the most. But if it gets easier to drive, I think he'll maybe has another 4 years in him until he really has to
4 years,
stop.
I think, is pushing it. I think maybe a year or two.
Yeah, but we are
See,
talking about
26.
Alonso,
See,
so.
for him, 26 is confirmed that we know. I think maybe 27 max. After that, he can retire. I think.
yeah. I think next year he'll decide if the car's good enough, he'll stay. If it's not, we'll see him
Yeah,
go.
Yeah.
same year.
Yeah.
And for Stroll, if I think there's only one scenario in which Stroll is pushed out of the team, and that's if Verstappen decides to leave Red Bull. I think that's the only real chance that they have to push Stroll out if they want.
I mean, if Verstappen decides to leave Red Bull, I think he'll go to Mercedes, man. I don't think he'll go to Aston.
But they have got Drogovic. They have got Drogovic waiting in the wings as well. If Stroll does go,
I think Djokovic might actually go to Cadillac.
It's
If they want
possible.
to.
Yeah.
He is a American driver in terms of continent, like South American driver. He's from Brazil, and
yeah,
you'll never know. I think it's possible. If Aston Martin don't decide to promote him anytime soon, then yeah, he'll look at other options and take his chance at Cadillac, maybe alongside Bottas or Perez.
I
yeah,
don't know if you know where he finished in Le Mans.
No, Aston Martin.
Djokovic?
I'm not sure where he finished, but I know Aston Martin didn't do well. Was he driving for Aston Martin?
yeah. I don't know where he was.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
Aston Martin didn't do very well in Le Mans. Again, it was Ferrari. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
All right. So
yeah, go on.
yeah. So we look ahead now. We are in race week for Silverstone. So we'll end the podcast off with an early top three prediction from you both on how we see Silverstone finishing. We'll start with Ash.
I'm gonna go Lando, Piastri, Hamilton.
Ooh.
I mean, it's homegrown for Lando and Hamilton. Hamilton knows the track more than anyone else on the grid.
Oh, you've thrown Hamilton in
Yeah,
now.
he knows the grid. He knows the track better than anyone else. He's won there, so I think
Yeah.
what 9 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Here's
he
a
has,
ninth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's already won that 9 times. So I think he can at least get a podium, given that Ferrari is kind of strong right now with the upgrades, and they are
Yeah.
getting the podium right now. Leclerc took the last one, so I think Hamilton can get there. Between Lando and Piastri, yes, I think McLaren will again be dominant in Silverstone. I'm kind of saying Lando because of homegrown advantage. Otherwise, I think Piastri could. I don't know. It's too close right now. It's too close right now. Silverstone,
Yeah, I think it's going to be close on the day as well. I think it's going to be a down to the wire kind of battle again, providing that there's no Colapinto involvement.
Why Colapinto specifically?
why is bringing Colapinto into this now?
Well,
I mean,
we look back at Austria.
yeah, I mean, with the weather, if it stays as it is right now, we're looking at 3 days of rain, I think. Or at least 2.
At the moment, yeah, I think 2 days guaranteed.
Yeah,
with the
I mean,
forecast.
But it is the
as
UK,
but-
so you'll never know. Unpredictable.
with
It could be sunny.
rain and the nature of Silverstone, I think Mercedes could be really strong.
Mercedes. So you have
Yeah.
Russell on the top three.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably, yeah.
Vision, what's your top three?
Dependent on the outcome, I think it's going to be Piastri, Max, and Russell.
Yeah, Max in it.
Ooh.
I mean, if it's raining, you can't, you can't.
If it's raining, then Max is gonna. No, I'm gonna stick by my top three. Hamilton is still there. Kieran, you go.
See, going by on the forecast, obviously as I said, it's raining. I think it's going to be Piastri. I think Norris will make a mistake here, and he won't qualify on pole. He's going to be second, and I think in the rain, Max will get third.
Max third.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we can revisit this after the race and see how wrong we all were.
Colapinto wins.
If Colapinto wins, they're gonna sign a multi-year contract, man. No doubt.
And they'll go off to 5 races on that.
If Colapinto wins, I want a public apology from Kieran.
Yes.
I will put it in writing to everyone.
But yeah,
But yeah, that's going to be us for today. We are looking ahead now on the week to the British Grand Prix, the iconic Silverstone, where it started 75 years ago for F1. And it's the start now of our podcast series, the first one going out with the three of us. We should have some more people from the team joining us throughout different podcasts.
right. It's actually a huge milestone for us. Our first episode.
Yeah, this is the pilot. You guys made the
fastest
pilot.
podcast.
We all did.
Yes.
Let's just hope that it does end up being a series. We do get a second one
Definitely.
in.
Next week we'll be back.
Yeah, definitely. And to make sure that
One
you
a
catch
year.
that next one, subscribe to the channel, comment below any topics you want us to discuss in the next video. We can add them onto our list. But from all three of us, we will see you in the next Fastest podcast.